Hello, good morning. Welcome to another lecture in our genetics course. So, as a review, we talked about last time how DNA is replicated in cells, and that is a very important function because we now know that when cells replicate during mitosis, the DNA needs to be replicated so that both the two daughter cells produced in your mitosis will have exactly the same uh, genetic composition to that of their parent cell. And with that known, with the scientists, geneticists knowing that it's the DNA that is the genetic material, they are now intrigued with the question of how the the information stored in the DNA is converted into information that can be related to phenotypic expression of traits. So how does the gene determines the trait? So here we talk about transcription, the second stage of our central dogma in molecular biology. And in this lecture, we will talk about for this lecture, we'll talk about how the genetic code was established through various experiments, through the studies on operational patterns of the code, the studies of Nirenberg, Mathay, and others, which allowed us to create a dictionary of codons and how these codons translate into amino acid compositions. And then we also will establish the coding dictionary that reveals the function of the 64 triplets or codons. And then the second half, which we will cover in the next meeting, we'll talk about the genetic code, the universality of the genetic code, initiation points in genes, as well as the transcription process and how it synthesizes RNA from the DNA template, RNA polymerase, directing the RNA synthesis, and then we'll talk about uh, the whole transcription process, and then finally, a very important process cells undergo to ensure that mutations are corrected, minor mutations are corrected. We call this as RNA editing, and then some proof of transcription through visual illustrations, visual images, through the using electron microscopy. Okay, so very importantly, we now know that the DNA are they're a linear sequence of nucleotides, and this sequence, the primary sequence of the nucleotides, they provide information on how proteins are made. That's what we know now. But before, they do not yet understand how the DNA uh directs protein synthesis in cells, because we know already in our previous lectures that the whole of if we look at living organisms, for example humans, we remove water by dry mass. 70% of the dry mass of living organisms is proteins, and therefore to 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 direct the phenotypic expression of the living organism, one must, or the genetic material to be considered, must be able to have a say in what proteins to make, because it's the proteins that makes us different physically from each other. So that is what intrigued many geneticists. How does the DNA direct protein synthesis in cells? And this is the whole chapter. So uh, here, uh, one of the two strands, remember in your DNA, di ba, you have a leading and a lagging strand if it's during replication. So it's two strands. For from the double stranded DNA, one of the strand serves as a template, meaning that is the information that will be transcribed into a messenger RNA. So it's like a photocopy, but the photocopy is not really an exact copy of the DNA, because we have to remember your RNA is different from your DNA, particularly in the sugar that they have. Your DNA is deoxyribose. For your RNA, it's ribose. And for nitrogenous bases in your DNA, you have you have thymine, and for your RNA, you have uracil. And then from that, when the mRNA transcribes the information from the DNA, it then associates with ribosomes because it's the ribosome, it's the organelle responsible for the production of protein. So that is the whole transcription process in a nutshell. The mRNA is a transcript of your DNA, and that mRNA will go to the ribosome to make protein. So this is the illustration. So the DNA, one of the strand, serves as a template strand from which transcription happens. So it's still pairing. For example, your T will be transcribed as A, base pairing, while A, instead of a T, it is replaced with U. C is to G, and so on. This creates triplet code words. So later we'll talk about this one. And this triplet, we call this codon. This is the information, quote unquote, that will be translated by the ribosomes into amino acids. Like for example, AUG will code for methionine, while GUG will code for valine, UUG codes for leucine, and AGC codes for serine. So here, you already have a tetrapeptide, meaning it's a molecule with 4 amino acids. And this is already your building block for your protein. This can be a pigment molecule that determines the skin color, or this can be a protein molecule that provides structural support in your nails, probably in your collagen, in your ligaments, as collagen, as part of your bones, and so on. So that is how the DNA directs protein synthesis. But we will limit only our discussion in this stage. Okay, we already mentioned about triplets, and um, what are these and how were these discovered? So the genetic code, or we call it the codons, they have general features which makes them exceptional in delivering information from the DNA to the ribosome. The first one is that they are written in linear form. So your mRNA is not branched. No, it's an unbranched linear polymer, meaning it's straight, it's unbranched. It's made out of ribonucleotide bases that composes the mRNA. So they're made of ribonucleotide, meaning sugar, base, and phosphate. Okay, sugar, base, and phosphate. The sugar is a ribose, but the nitrogenous bases are A, adenine, uracil, cytosine, and guanine. Each word, meaning how the mRNA will be read, because it carries information. So if we try to make an analogy of this in our language, the mRNA can be read by 3-letter words. And we call this as triplet code or codon. So for example, here, AUG will be read as methionine, while GUG is valine. So they are like words. The messenger are like the messenger RNA is like a document with information, and the information stored in that document is through words. So here, these are the words in our mRNA in form of codons. One important characteristics of codons is that they are unambiguous, meaning each triplet specifies only to one amino acid. So meaning one word means one meaning, no other meaning. So, for example, AUG only codes for methionine. AUG cannot code for tryptophan. AUG cannot code for leucine, isoleucine, or whatnot. But it only codes for methionine. We call it the ambiguous characteristic of our codon. Second is that our codons are also degenerate. What do you mean by degenerate? An amino acid can be specified more than one triplet code. How is that possible? Remember, you have three your codon is made of three nitrogenous bases, and for every base, you can have four probabilities, di ba? AUCG, four there, here, four also, here, four also. So 4 cube results into how many possible combinations? You have 64 possible combination of codons. But we have to remember, in our lesson last time, there are only 20 standard amino acids. So how is 64 coding for just 20 amino acids? So later we'll learn that there are several experiments that were conducted that shows that the codons actually are degenerate. Meaning, for example, CUU and CU, for example, CUC will have the same meaning. But this will, for example, if this is leucine, this is just an example, leucine, CUU is unambiguous because it only codes for leucine. But leucine also, I mean, codons are also degenerate because uh, more codons can code for the same amino acid. So CUC can also code for leucine, but not other amino acid. And this is very important because you will learn later that this degenerate characteristic of codons help ensure minimal changes during mutation. Because for example here, if this third nucleotide is replaced with C instead of a U, it will still mean leucine. Then that would then determine that would then have no effect in the peptide that is made, because the peptide will still be the same because the protein, the amino acid that makes it, is still the same. Okay? Very important as well, the mRNA contains start and stop signal. So these are triplets that initiate, meaning this is always the beginning of your transcription. And there's also a termination, meaning if this is the part of the mRNA is read, then that means it stops. Okay? It is also comma-less. So once translation begins, codons are read with no break. So for example, if this is your DNA, and these are the nucleotides, nitrogenous bases, if these first three are read, then the next upward will be this one. Di siya pwede mo skip, di siya pwede mo ambak. Okay, no break. Unlike our sentences, there's comma, there's hyphens that we use, and so on. So there's a break. But for transcription process, it's commaless. Another important characteristic of our genetic code is it's non-overlapping, meaning if this part of the DNA is already read, then the second part is read in threes. Okay? Dili siya pwede. So if this is the third triplet or third codon, muna po na ang basahon. Di siya pwede nga that this is the first one that is read, then the second one that is read is this one, and the other portion that is read is this one. So we say that the genetic code is non-overlapping. Okay, next, the characteristic of our genetic code is it is collinear, meaning the sequence of the codons in a gene is, we read it as a line, no, linear. Di siya pwedeng, for example, here, if the genes here, so the DNA here are read two from here and the one is here. No, because there's two nucleotides here already. So they are read side by side each other, forming a line. And finally, the genetic code also is universal, meaning almost all living organisms, even viruses, follow a single coding dictionary, meaning what codons mean, what amino acids they code for, is the same for all living organisms with a very simple, with very, not very simple, with very some exceptions. And we will talk about that at the end of the chapter. Okay, now we go to experimental studies that establish the basis for this code. So we said earlier that now at this moment we know that the mRNA is read in triplets, but how did they arrive at that conclusion? So what were their experimental evidences that led them to believe that it is read in trees? So the messenger RNA, we know this now already, that it serves as a messenger, no? May messenger RNA gani. It's an intermediate in transferring the information stored in our DNA to directing the ribosomes on what proteins to make. And that information is stored in the DNA, and that code translates translates it to protein is in the RNA. So how is the DNA translated into proteins lies in the information found in our RNA. That's why we need to use a dictionary that translates your RNA into an mRNA. Sorry, an mRNA into proteins. Okay. So they arrive at the conclusion that it's triplets, not duplets or quartets, based from the experiments conducted by Crick using through frame shift mutation. So what is frame shift mutation? So when the DNA is read, remember when the DNA is read. So for example, here's your nitrogenous bases. When I think there's an image, yeah, here. For example, when the DNA is read through transcription, it's read in triplets, right? This one, this one, another triplet, and another triplet. Oh, that's our reading frame. It's a reference on how we read our DNA, how we transcribe our DNA in trees. Oh. When we say frame shift mutation, it shifts the whole reading frame of our DNA. So for example here, instead of GAG, G here, diba? It's originally GAG. When a C is inserted here, it becomes GAC. And the next one is instead of another GAG, it becomes GGA. So this will now code for another protein, another amino acid. GGA will now code for another amino acid. And this will now code for another amino acid. No longer GAG, GAG, and GAG. So this is what we call as an example of a frame shift mutation via insertion. Another uh, another kind of frame shift mutation is via okay, so this is not no, this is not by deletion. So here, still another insertion, but this time what is inserted is not it's not just one nucleotide, but it's another trinucleotide. So here it's still GAG, and here when we inserted CAG here, what happens is that here GAG, it is still in frame. GAC is no longer out of frame. AGG is out of frame, but GAG will now be back in frame. Okay? So here, from these experiments of Watson and Crick, it provides them an idea that probably when since after inserting a trinucleotide instead of just one nucleotide, uh, they saw that the mutation there is a mutation but only very minor, only for this portion. But this time, kaning first example here, if you only insert one nucleotide here, the rest of the reading frame gets disrupted. But only this portion. So probably they were saying that since the the insertion that happens in this mutation is in form of three nucleotides, then probably the information in the DNA is read in trees. Okay, what if what if it was if CAG was inserted here, then only one amino acid will be mutated, and the rest will have the same, right? So that's how uh this is a good evidence providing proof that the mRNA reads the DNA in form of, I mean, the information stored in the mRNA is formed by three nucleotides words. Okay. Non-overlapping. We mentioned this already, that the genetic code reads three nucleotides at a time in a continuous and linear manner. And during translation, the genetic code is non-overlapping. We mentioned this earlier, that when we read the mRNA, it's not it di siya pwede magsapaw. So GAG, dili pwede mahimo na po ning AGG here, then AGG here. No. And we will learn later why it's non-overlapping when we talk about already the transcription process as the when we talk about the transcription process. Okay, now we go to another experiment. So now we know that the mRNA is translated in by trees as codons. But how did they know, what evidences were presented so that the codons, the combination of the four nucleotides in trees, translate into protein? So now we go to the work of Nirenberg, Mathey, and other geneticists that helped develop and establish our codon dictionary. So the first experiments were on synthetic polypeptides. So synthetic meaning they are artificially made. So these polypeptides are actually made from polynucleotide phosphorylase. So what's a polynucleotide phosphorylase? So these are enzymes that forces ribonucleotides to form codons. And they do not require a DNA template. So this polynucleotide phosphorylase enzyme, they force nucleotides to form codons in vitro, meaning it's in test tube only. So here, for example, if you have a ribonucleoside diphosphate here one and another. So nakadaghan ribonucleoside phosphate, and if you add the enzyme polynucleotide phosphorylase, it will force them to form like this. But the process actually is it favors the reverse. So here, if you look at the arrow, mas taas ang arrow sa degradation compared to your synthesis. So the reaction favors the the formation or the composition of this uh, trinucleotide to your nucleoside diphosphates. So yung na iyang favor, but their process allowed them to sorry, their experiments, they innovated the chemical reaction to ensure that they are able to synthesize this, and from this they are already they were already capable of making a synthetic mRNA. So, wala na kinahanglan nga DNA template nga asa mag-transcribe ang mRNA. So, naghimo silang ilang own nga mRNA. And from this, they were able to, quote-unquote, manipulate the kind of mRNA to make so that that mRNA will then provided with a tRNA, and then they were able to determine the kind of amino acid that mRNA codes for. So they began experiments using homopolymers. So homo meaning one kind of polymer. So we have four nucleotides naman, 'di ba? A, U, C, G. Okay. At this time, wala pa sila technology that allows them to arrange the nucleotides in a certain sequence, in a certain order. So that's why they began experiments using uh, one kind of nucleotide. Muna gitawag na itong homopolymer. So here, for example, iba mo ni, what they did is, let me erase first. what they did is they tried to mix all uh, ribonucleoside diphosphates that carry adenine as the base so that they know that this will be poly A. Puro siya A tanan. Okay, if they mix this with, for example, sorry, if they mix this with a C, they will not know what kind of arrangement it will form. Will it be ACA, CAA, or AAC? Kaya wala pa man sila yung technology yung ma-arrange nila. So, ang ilasang gisulayan is kanisang one kind. Kay kabalo man kay if all ni sila A, you only have one arrangement and this will be AAA, right? So from this experiment, they were able to come up that poly-U, meaning all U's, it uh it codes for, I mean, the amino acid that will be coded for a UUU is phenylalanine. That's why Nirenberg and Mathey concluded that UUU in the mRNA codes for the amino acid phenylalanine. And similar approach was used for adenine, which now they know codes for lysine, and CCC codes for proline. So these were their studies. If they saw that poly-U contains radioactivity of phenylalanine at this much, but at poly-A and poly-C, gamay lang. Okay. No artificial mRNA, walay phenylalanine na nakita. The same with here. Very dual, very near to each other. Okay? Okay. Now, remember that how many combinations ganito? There are 64 combinations. But ang ato pang na na hibaw-an nga code is tulo pa lang, the poly-U, poly-A, and poly-C. Ngano walay poly-G? Kaya ilang gitry when they did the experiments for guanine, they did not see any meaningful results. Wala pa sila kabalo sa ang GGG unsay yang gina-code. Now we go to another advancement. So this is on RNA heteropolymers. So for RNA heteropolymers, this is two or more different ribonucleotides. So for example, ACA is a heteropolymer, an RNA heteropolymer, because you have two different ribonucleotides. That's an adenine and, I mean, a nucleotide that carries adenine as a base, and then this one, cytosine as a base. And these experiments were used to code for uh, the different amino acids in standard amino acids. So they were able to use to determine the composition of the triplet codes for all the 20 standard amino acids, but not the sequence of the triplet. So what did they do? What they did was using probability as a methodology to determining um what do you call this? Determining the kind of amino acids it produces. So for example, here, what they did was for this what they call this mRNA, they tried to use heteropolymers. So you have one that is triple A and a C and A. So you have AA and probably a CA or an AC or baliktad. So that's a polymer with two nucleotides carrying two nucleotides. So when you try to force them to form an artificial mRNA, it can form many different combinations, right? And it can form, for example, here, if CA is here, then it forms kanang triple A, right? And if rearrange na po na ninyo, it can form with, for example, this one is bonded here, then that becomes your AAC or probably ACA or CAA. O, pwede po, like duha ka buok dire, napog kay AC here. And if that binds there, then that is your ACC and so on. So from these experiments, they calculated the probability of getting AAA, AAC, ACA, CAA. So katatong atong loss of probability, and they saw that AAA probability is about 0.4%. Then for this combination with 1C and 2A, about 2.3%, 2C, 1A, about 11.6%, and 3C uh, at about 57.9%. Percent. Okay? So here, within final, trying to multiply pila ka buok. Like for example, each of this has 2.3%, so times 3, that's 6.9, and so on. So this percent came from this mRNA product. Wala pa sila kabaloon sa arrangement. They just know that it will form with this kind based from the composition of the mixture that they made. So nabaon na nila nga probability if it will, what do you call this? It will, tawag gani? It will synthesize into an mRNA kato mga kaning mga RNA heteropolymers nga ilang gi-combine it will form medyo nga niyan dagway and was la kabaloon sa arrangement, but they can, based from this number of nucleotides, they can predict ahead ang probability nga it will form with 3A's, 1C, and so on based on probability. And from that, ilan na din gipaalaw og translate, and it produced 6 amino acids: lysine, glutamine, asparagine, threonine, histidine, and proline. And they calculated the percentage of those amino acids. They saw that lysine is about less than 1% in the mixture, glutamine at about 2%, asparagine at about 2%, threonine about 12%, histidine 14%, and proline 69%. And from this, they tried to deduce that it's related to this one. That's why here, since lysine is less than 1%, they are now sure that lysine has a possible or a probable base composition with AAA, which was also proven here. Remember, poly A is lysine, right? Then glutamine and asparagine is at about 2%. At about 2%. So asa may duol sa 2%? This one, right? Kaning 6.9. So probably the glutamine and asparagine has 1C and 2A, but they do not know the arrangement, whether glutamine is AAC or asparagine is CAA, and so on. For threonine, it's 12%. So medyo duol siya sa asaman. Kani, dili siya medyo duol. The same with your histidine. Because if you add 12 and 14, that's about roughly 30%. Right? Diba? That's 26%. So duol-duol siya dire. So that's why they said nga, probably threonine is 2C1A, or while histidine is 2C1A and 1C2A. Okay, 14 man. Pwede siya diri gyapon. And then finally, your proline, 69% can be CCC with or 2C1A. Ngano naman ni siya probable diri? Because 69 is quite far from the 57.9. They said nga probably 57 plus kaning uh, 1, sorry, kaning 2C1A, medyo duol na din siya to 69%. Right? Or kaning 2C1A, you add it to 1C2A probability, medyo duol na siya, 34.8 to 6.9%. Percent. So now they know nga different combinations of nucleotides produces different kinds of amino acids. But ang problem lang dahil nila is unsa ang order. Diba? At least karon medyo na kuha na nila. Medyo na minimize na nila ang ang guessing kay nag-group naman nila together. Kabalo naman sila nga probably glutamine has just this 1C 2A depending na lang din unsa ang combination. Okay? So here another technology they develop or another technique they develop in analysis, we call it chiplet binding assay. It's developed by Nirenberg and led there to determine other specific codon assignment. So, kani medyo medyo unique ilang experiment na sila gibuhat nga filter. It's a specialized kind of filter. It's a filter that they will use to quote unquote strain the the RNA and the mRNA sorry, the mRNA and the tRNA. So what they did was they know already that the ribosomes can bind to a single codon of 3 nucleotides. And the complementary amino acid charged tRNA can bind. So here, for example, uh, they tried UUU. This is your mRNA. And they know that it will, wala pa sila kabalo. Wala pa, they do not know yet. Although kabalo na ta kaganina nga ang poly-U codes for phenylalanine. But this experiment provided more proof how. So, kani you have mRNA, UUU, and then ilang gimix with different kinds of tRNA, mga charged tRNA. What do you mean by charge? It's radioactive. So what they did was they mix it with ribosomes. Ribosome is the one that combines your tRNA that carries the amino acid phenylalanine to your mRNA. So, creating your RNA, tRNA ribosome complex. So, mag-combine sila tanan para maka-form aning katong protein synthesis. So, yung na. So, ilang gitanaw, so ilang gimix. Sagol nila. Ilang gipaagi aning filter. Kaning filter can filter the ribosome. Okay? Makalusot ang RNA, makalusot ang tRNA, but dili makalusot ang ribosomes. Yun sa nila pag-arrive at the conclusion. So yun sila, if katong radioactive nga amino acid mabilin sa filter, for example, nasya diri, di siya mulusot from here, meaning that tRNA codes for that, that amino acid codes for that triplet, that codon. Kaya nga naman, ni-combine man siya sa ribosome. So for example, na kay tRNA nga T, GG for example. This AGG, what if this is kanang radioactive? Radioactive ni siya. Oh. Yeah, ilan ang gisagol tanan? Dili kani. For example, this carries, for example, AGG, butang na to, lysine, for example. Ato lang sang one. Just for example purposes. So, lysine. So, ilan ang gimix? The ribosome, the mRNA, and the one that carries AGG. Pag filter nila, tingala sila, kay ninadiri. Wala siya sa filtrate. Na siya, nilusot siya. So, if mo mong butangan na nilusot siya diri. So, ano pasabot ana? The the tRNA that carries lysine did not bind with your ribosome. Kaya nilusot man siya sa imong filter. Kaning ilang experiment, it's the tRNA that carries phenylalanine, wala nilusot. Na-filter siya diri. So this means that this tRNA binded with the ribosome so that forming your codon, anticodon complex. So these are codon and its corresponding anticodon is your triple A. So here, from their experiments, so daghan kasi lagi sulay-sulayan, they were able to determine that AAA and AAG codes for lysine, AUG codes for methionine, AUU, AUC, AUA codes for isoleucine, CCG, proline, CUC, leucine, GAA, GAG, glutamic acid, UCA, serine, cysteine, leucine, and phenyl alanine. So karon, kaning nga experiment already provided marami tag an idea of the sequence of the nucleotides. Kaganina, katong experiments nilang uh, nilang Matthey and Nirenberg, they were able to determine lang the probabilities nga probable ingani but wala pa sila kabalo unsa nga arrangement. Kaning triplet binding assay experiment, they were able to already determine the order, the specific order for some amino acids. So pila ra man ni kabok? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So you still have 9 more, di ba? May na lang dayon. So this experiment concluded that code is degenerate. We mentioned this earlier, that the code can, so I mean, many codons can code for the same amino acid. Like for example, AUU, AUC, and AUA, they all code for isoleucine. And I mentioned this earlier, that this is very important to protect the cell from minor mutations. And another is that this experiment also concluded that the code is unambiguous. Always AAA will code for lysine and AAG will always code for lysine. Dili siya pwede nga AAG will code for glutamic acid, GAA will code for cysteine, and so on. Okay? And then further experiments here, they used chemically synthesized long RNAs, no longer by trees, very long, using some enzymes in vitro, and they were able to find out that they were able to discover some of the unknown combinations. Pila raman ni 11. Oo, pila ra pud ni ka codons out of the 64 possible combinations. And here they found out that there's what we call as an initiation codon and stop codon. So here from these experiments, they were able to come up with this possible combination. So they saw that GAU, UGA, and UAG, and AUA, they do not code for certain amino acid. That's why they call this as stop codon. Just stop, meaning the translation will stop there. Okay, and then finally, many experiments allowed them to complete the 64 combinations. Many amino acids are specified by more than one codon, but specifically tryptophan and methionine are encoded by only one single codon. And I mentioned this earlier that chemically similar amino acids share one or two middle bases in triplets. So, may mga amino acid niya, gamay lang ilang difference. Like for example, pareha sila polar basic or polar acidic. Medyo gamay na po ang ilang difference sa ilang codon. So that determines nga, di ay, ang tRNA nga carry igagaw ra nila kay structure, igagaw ra man pud sila sa structure. And according to Wobble, he hypothesized that the initial two ribonucleotides of the triplet codes often are more critical than the third. And the third position is less spatially constrained and does not necessarily adhere to the base pairing rules. That's why, for example, here, UUU and UUUC, they code for the same amino acid. They only differ at the uh, third base pair. Muning ingon ni kuan ni Wobble nga base ng ikatulo dili na siya ga-follow sa base pairing kay even here kaning UUU and UUC unsa tawag ani medyo silingan naman sila og parehara sila og amino acid nga ka-form. And even UUU and UUG, phenylalanine and leucine are structurally neighbors. Medyo duol ra po og structure si phenylalanine og si leucine. So for this dictionary also, they were able to determine that transcription always begins with methionine Maninginganlan nato ni siya initiation codon. And then when the code, when the mRNA carries UAA and UAG and UGA, it's actually the termination or the stop of the translation process. So, sir, sa many pagbasa nga dictionary. So you begin with this one. That's why this is the first position at the 5' end, second position, and then third position. So we begin with this one. Like for example, if we want to know the codon or the amino acid carried by the codon G, A, C, we begin with here G, then A is here, so meaning it's in this box, and then C here, so nara, GAC. So ASP, so that's aspartic acid. Okay? How about if it's CGC? CGC. So C, asama ng G here, and the C is here. So it's here. This is arginine. Okay? So this is the base pairing. So what carries the amino acid again is an anticodon, or it's carried by tRNA, and we call it an anticodon. It's the opposite of your codon. Okay. So the genetic code shows order. They are chemically similar. The chemically similar amino acids often share one or two middle bases, as mentioned in Wobble hypothesis, and this results uh, this results into an ordered code. And this also buffers the potential effect of mutation on protein function. Like for example, kanina akong gimension, for example, for proline, if the U here will be replaced with a C or an A or a G, it will still code for proline. So this degenerate nature of our codons actually protect us from minor mutations. Okay? So, importante di ay nga degenerate ang codon. Okay? Kung one codon codes for one amino acid only, so you only have 20 kinds of codons and the other codons do not code for amino acid, if there's a change in the codon, that would result into a change in the amino acid that will be made. And any change in the amino acid changes the primary sequence of your proteins and therefore changes the composition of your polypeptide or your protein. Okay, that we will end here and we will continue with the rest of our lecture in our next meeting. Thank you and see you around.